Miscellaneous minds, never explaining the minds. Devilish grin for my alias, aliens who respond. Peddling sin, thinking maybe when you get old you realize I'm not gonna fold or demise. I don't smoke crack, motherfucker, I sell it.
What is going on, everybody? This is the Miscellaneous Minds podcast. I'm your co-host, Boomergato, the cat that hands your lightweight title back. And to my left over here is the main man, Jesus Dinero, the man that makes the fat stacks. Together we form the dynamic duo that won't die. Deadly ideas, run spicier content than your girl's OnlyFans. What is going on, everybody? Before we get into tonight's topic, please make sure to like, comment, hate, subscribe, DM us about the bullshit. And with that, let's get right into it. So we have a great fight on our hands. Gervonta Tank Davis takes on Frank the Ghost Martin. Listen, I like this fight. There's a little bit of a history between these two, and that's part of the reason why I like this fight. First of all, the Ghost is undefeated currently, top contender, looking great in his last few fights. I think he has a lot of the tools that he would need to beat a Gervonta Tank Davis. With that being said, I think Gervonta's going to take this. Why do I think this? Listen, I think a lot of people severely underestimate the ring IQ of Tank Davis. Here's the thing. Frank Martin has that. Frank Martin has great ring IQ. He's good at what he does. The problem is I personally don't believe it is higher than Gervonta Tank Davis' ring IQ. You know, if you watch a lot of Gervonta's fights, he sets up a lot of his stuff. He, like, for example, the counter that he set up against Raleigh that ended up knocking Raleigh out. The way that and a lot of people would dispute this, but I'm telling you, go back and watch it. The counter that he laid on Ryan Garcia, the body counter, that ended up putting Ryan down. Listen, a lot of that stuff is definitely Gervonta setting those up. The ring IQ is intense on Gervonta Tank Davis. And I feel like because, yes, we all know that Gervonta has a lot of power. We get that. But I feel like because of how good his power is, I feel like it's severely underrated how well his ring IQ is presented out there. And to be honest with you, I think the fact that we underrate it so much is part of the reason why he looks so good when he goes in there up against people that theoretically he should have a not difficult time with, but that he should not beat as easily as he does. The fact that Gervonta's ring IQ is so heavily underestimated is part of the reason why I think I don't want to say he's got this fight in the bag, but I feel like he's gonna go in there and toy with Frank a little bit. I feel like he's gonna play with him, not too much, because Frank Martin is still a dangerous guy. But I feel like he's gonna go in there, he's gonna have a little bit of swagger on, and he's gonna show us why Gervonta Tank Davis is who he is. Apart from the power, listen, when you have a counter puncher, which Gervonta has been doing as of late, that has that type of power, it is a dangerous thing for the boxer coming against him to attack. But you can't win the fight without attacking. So that's why I think Frank Martin's going to be on his P's and Q's. He's going to be watching out for what he does. He's going to be very careful. I feel like eventually a little bit of the frustration is going to set in for Frank Martin, and I feel like he's going to start getting a little bit too reckless, and that's when he's going to get caught. I think Gervonta Tank Davis is going to play it smart. He's going to try and punch him, counter punch him, all that kind of good stuff. And I think eventually I do see this ending in stoppage. I think not only does Gervonta obviously have the power to be able to do this, but he has the ring IQ. I feel like he has good footwork. He doesn't lean up against the ropes too much, which Frank Martin does kind of. I don't want to say he likes to take advantage of when his opponents are on the ropes, but I feel like he definitely sees opportunities when that opponent does that, and I don't think Gervonta's ever going to give that to him. So I feel like Gervonta is going to take this via knockout. I feel like it's going to come sometime after the 6th round. I'm going to say somewhere in the 8th to 10th. But I wouldn't be surprised if it went decision. Again, listen, not to underestimate Frank Martin by any means. Frank Martin is a great boxer. He's a top contender, and he's undefeated for a reason. So I do think Frank Martin is going to definitely hold his own in there. I just think eventually Tank Davis is definitely going to be a little bit too much for him, and I feel like Tank's going to again give us another great spectacular fight reel that we'll all be able to comment on and have a good time with. What do you think about that, my man?
Here's the thing, man. I'm going to have a little bit of a bias here, but keep in mind, while I do have a bias and there is something that I do want a certain result to happen, it's not because I hate one fighter or anything like that. It's only because I want to see something happen. And look, I am personally pulling for Frank Martin to win this. And look, I'm not saying that Frank Martin is nowhere near better, or a better fighter than Tank Davis. Tank Davis, I do acknowledge, yes, is a phenomenal fighter. And again, this isn't me saying that I hate Tank Davis. Far from it. He's actually a phenomenal boxer. But the reason I would want Frank Martin to take this, whether unanimous decision or knockout, I think a unanimous decision is actually more likely on this. But just because I would want the lightweight division to have a little bit of a shakeup. Tank Davis has been a domineering force in that, and the fact that he hasn't come face to face with Frank Martin just shows the potential to have a potential lightweight shakeup. And again, Tank Davis, even with some of his comments, he's made some comments about moving up before, which makes me think, yeah, there isn't anybody that he sees as quite competition yet in the lightweight division, which again, we have something in Frank Martin. Now, moving on to how I think the fight will go. I think the fight, if Frank Martin wants to be absolutely smart in this, and the match itself is basically going to be the boxing equivalent of a chess match. It's just the question of who's going to get the checkmate at the end of the day. I think it's more likely that a Tank Davis would have that because, again, he has good setup game, he has good combinations, and of course, we can't forget the power that Tank Davis brings to the table, where Frank Martin, again, has a huge hill to climb, but I don't think it's an unclimbable mountain for him. I think he's going to want to play it smart. I think he's going to have to be very wary of any setups that Tank Davis sets up for him, and I think he's going to have to be aware of not to step foot in any traps. I think one or two critical ones are going to affect him at the very least. I don't know how much of the traps that Tank Davis sets up that Frank Martin is going to fall for, but at the very least, I count two critical ones that's going to be his downfall. And if he does fall for two of those at the very least, then yeah, it's game over for Frank Martin. But again, at the end of the day, I want a Frank Martin to win out of this. Is it going to be impossible? No. Is it going to be a challenge for him? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, we can't exactly discount Frank Martin because, again, he's undefeated for a reason. And I think there might be some things that he's going to exhibit in this fight that we haven't seen out of him quite yet. The big thing at the end of the day is it's going to be a huge mind game, and we're going to see who the bigger mind is. And again, we're going to see how much of a big mind that Tank Davis as well as Frank Martin are going to have in this match. And again, we always discount the ring IQ that Tank Davis always had. And again, this is just going to be another exhibition of, yes, I have power, but I have other things too in my resume that I can pull out. He's not just a one-trick pony where it's all he relies on is power, power, power. No, he has a lot more things to bring to the table, and this is going to be a good exhibition of that. Whether or not Frank Martin is going to be the subject of another highlight reel, again, we've yet to see. I'm pulling for it, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a Tank Davis decision at the end of the day.
Listen, that's a fair assessment. What I do want to see, listen, I've called mine. I think it's going to be Tank Davis via KO, sometime after the 6th round, sometime between, I'm going to say 8th or 10th. Regardless, listen, well, the one thing that I do want to see, even though I'm a fan of Tank Davis, the one thing I do want to see is I need to see him step up. He says a lot of stuff talking shit about Shakur Stevenson. He says, he would fight Pitbull again, but he beat him, which, he's beat him before, so maybe. I just want to see him step up his competition. I think Frank Martin is the first step in that. I think while Frank Martin is not on the same level as a Shakur, as a Pitbull Cruz, as a Teofimo, so on and so forth, I do think that he needs to step up and face some of these bigger names. Floyd Mayweather came out very recently that said that Tank Davis obviously has all the power, but Shakur Stevenson has all the skill. Tank Davis did take a little bit of disrespect from that, and he went on a tirade basically saying that he was going to knock out Shakur Stevenson. Listen, I'd love to see that fight. Here's why. Tank Davis brings a lot of excitement. Shakur doesn't. The last couple fights where Shakur has fought, he's laid an egg. It's not been a good showing for him. He's looked not great. So maybe this could be what Shakur needs to kind of get over there, because I do think Shakur is very, very talented. I think Mayweather's assessment's a fair assessment. The only problem is that the way that Shakur fights, man, it's too cautious. And I get it. That's his fight style. That's fine. But you gotta want people to watch you, my guy. You at a certain point, if people don't want to watch you, you're not gonna keep boxing. You're not gonna keep getting paid. So there needs to be a little bit more excitement. I think Tank Davis brings enough skill to where Shakur Stevenson could potentially take his first L. That being said, even if it's not Shakur, fight Pitbull Cruz again. Fight Teofimo. There's a couple other. So Brio Matias. Fight them, man. Fight them. They're only 5 pounds above your weight. It's not that big of a jump. So I do think it's possible for him to fight a lot of big names. Either way, regardless of how the fight between him and Frank Martin goes, he needs to step up. Again, I personally think Tank Davis is going to win. He's going to use his footwork. He's going to use his ring IQ. He's going to set up a perfect counter, and I think he's going to bring down Frank Martin. I think Frank Martin is just one level below, maybe a level and a half or 2 levels below what a Gervonta David is. But listen, Frank Martin by no means don't count the man out. He's a phenomenal boxer, great at what he does. He's undefeated. He's a top contender for a reason. So don't count the man out. I just think Gervonta Davis is a little bit too much for him at this time. With that being said, listen, I believe it's going to be a great fight regardless. I think for the first round or two, they're going to be filling each other out. And then from then on, we're going to start seeing a really good fight. So it's definitely something to tune in. Please watch that fight. It's going to be great for all of us boxing fans. I think it's good to see him take Gervonta to take what I would personally consider the first step to stepping up. So I think it's going to be a good fight to watch and see what he does next. Anything else you want to add to that, my man?
Nah, that's it for me.
And with that, make sure to like, comment, hate, subscribe, DM us about the bullshit, and
Until next time, get rest and stay blessed. We'll see you on the next one.